Did you know that some of your favorite old Hollywood stars didn't just light up the silver screen, but also served their country during World War II? In this video, we're diving into the stories of 17 iconic American actors who put their careers on hold to serve in the military. From fighting on the front lines to working behind the scenes, these stars showed incredible bravery and dedication. So sit back and get ready to learn about the Hollywood legends who answered the call during one of the toughest times in history. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda wasn't just a movie star, he was a real-life hero too. In 1942, at the height of his Hollywood career, Fonda made a surprising decision. He enlisted in the U.S. Navy at the age of 37. Leaving behind the glitz of Hollywood, Fonda joined the war effort, determined to serve his country and avoid being a fake in a war studio. Starting as a quartermaster third class on the USS Satterley, Fonda's skills quickly earned him a promotion to lieutenant junior grade in air combat intelligence, where he served in the Central Pacific. Fonda's dedication didn't go unnoticed. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal and the Navy Presidential Unit Citation for his outstanding service. But his time in the Navy didn't just impact his military career, it also influenced his acting. After the war, Fonda returned to Hollywood, bringing a newfound authenticity to roles like the iconic Mr. Roberts. His wartime experiences added depth to his performances, making his military roles feel real and powerful. Fonda's service during World War II wasn't just about fighting for his country, it was also about bringing his real-life experiences to the big screen, creating characters that would live on in film history. Kirk Douglas. Before he became the legendary Spartacus, Kirk Douglas was chasing enemy submarines during World War II. Born Isser Danielovich and later known as Izzy Dembski, Douglas changed his name to Kirk Douglas just before enlisting in the U.S. Navy in 1941. His military service was as fascinating as his Hollywood career. Despite being rejected by the U.S. Air Force after failing a psychiatric exam, Douglas didn't give up. He immediately joined the Navy, where his vision impairment didn't stop him from serving. Douglas was assigned to a submarine chaser, the USS PC-1139. On the sub, he worked as a communications officer during anti-submarine warfare in the Pacific. His duties were crucial in maintaining communications for dangerous missions. Unfortunately, in 1943, a depth charge accident caused severe abdominal injuries. These injuries led to his medical discharge in 1944. After returning to Hollywood, Douglas brought his wartime experiences with him. It enriched his portrayals of complex characters. His time in the Navy gave him a unique understanding of leadership under pressure, which would later shape his iconic roles. Kirk Douglas led an adventurous life, marked by both his service in the Navy and his iconic career in Hollywood. Mel Brooks. Before he became the mastermind behind Blazing Saddles and the producers, Mel Brooks was defusing landmines during World War II. Born Melvin Kaminsky in 1926, Brooks was drafted into the U.S. Army at just 17 years old. He served in the 1104th Engineer Combat Battalion and participated in the fierce Battle of the Bulge. His job was dangerous. He had to defuse landmines ahead of advancing troops and build bridges under enemy fire. Though his work was serious and life-threatening, Brooks found humor in even the darkest situations. He once shared that he used humor to cope, even jokingly engaging in a sing-along with German soldiers across a river. They sang Al Jolson's Toot Toot Tootsie to one another, turning a moment of tension into something absurd and memorable. Brooks's wartime experiences were intense, and his bravery and quick thinking saved many lives. He later channeled the lessons he learned into his career in entertainment, using humor to bring joy to millions. His time as a combat engineer gave him the resilience and wit that would define his iconic career. Mel Brooks proved that even in the face of danger, laughter could be a powerful weapon. Robert Taylor. Did you know that Hollywood heartthrob Robert Taylor wasn't just a leading man on the big screen, but also a flight instructor during World War II? Born in 1911 as Spangler Arlington Brooke, Taylor was already a popular actor when the war broke out. At the age of 32, he enlisted in the U.S. Naval Air Corps, where he was commissioned as a lieutenant. His role was far from glamorous. He trained pilots for combat missions and even starred in instructional films to support the war effort. One of Taylor's most memorable contributions to the war was narrating the 1944 documentary The Fighting Lady. This film focused on the life aboard an aircraft carrier. After his service, Taylor's military experience added extra depth to his acting, bringing a unique authenticity to his roles. After the war, Taylor returned to Hollywood, where he continued to shine in films and television. From 1959 to 1962, he starred in The Detectives starring Robert Taylor. In 1966, he took over hosting duties for Death Valley Days from his friend Ronald Reagan. Robert Taylor's time as a flight instructor and his service to the country showed that his talents extended well beyond acting. He truly exemplified the multifaceted contributions of Hollywood's Golden Age stars during wartime. Clark Gable. Clark Gable wasn't just a movie star. He became a real-life hero when he enlisted in the Army at 41. After the heartbreaking loss of his wife, Carol Lombard, Gable enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces at the age of 41, a time when most men were exempt due to age. But Gable wasn't just any recruit. He served as an aerial gunner and photographer, flying combat missions over Europe. Gable's decision to enlist was deeply personal. His wife, Carol Lombard, was the first American female casualty of the war, tragically dying in a plane crash while on a war bond tour. Overcome with grief, Gable felt that encouraging others to buy war bonds wasn't enough. He wanted to contribute directly to the war effort. During his service, Gable flew several dangerous missions aboard the B-17G Flying Fortress bomber, filming aerial gunners in action for training films. His footage helped rally American support for the troops. On one mission, Gable's plane was struck by enemy fire, with a 20 shell narrowly missing his head. This experience earned him the Air Medal and Distinguished Flying Cross. Gable's bravery and commitment to the war effort showed that his courage extended far beyond the movie set. Although he returned to Hollywood after the war, his time in service remained one of the most defining chapters of his life. Robert Stack. Robert Stack is best remembered for his tough guy roles in shows like The Untouchables and Unsolved Mysteries, but long before hosting Mysteries, he was making history of his own as a gunnery instructor in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Born Charles Langford Modini Stack in 1919, Robert was a skilled marksman and Olympic-level skeet shooter before his acting career took off. In 1942, when World War II broke out, Stack enlisted in the U.S. Navy. His sharpshooting skills made him the perfect candidate to train new aerial gunners. He served aboard the USS Hancock and the USS Sitco Bay, where he was in charge of training airmen in anti-aircraft gunnery. For his dedicated service, Stack received several awards, including the World War II Victory Medal and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. His contributions didn't go unnoticed, and he even learned after the war that he had made it onto Hitler's hit list. That's some serious recognition. After the war, Stack returned to Hollywood and brought the same discipline and leadership to his acting roles. Stack's military background helped him portray characters who were strong, dependable, and always ready to take action. His service during the war is just one of the many things that made Robert Stack a true American icon. Tony Curtis. Before Tony Curtis dazzled Hollywood, he witnessed history unfold in Tokyo Bay. Long before starring in classics like Some Like It Hot and Spartacus, Tony Curtis, born Bernard Schwartz in 1925, served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Inspired by movie heroes like Cary Grant and Tyrone Power, Curtis enlisted after the attack on Pearl Harbor. He was assigned to the USS Proteus, a submarine tender. Curtis played a key role as a signalman, communicating ship to ship using flags, lights, and Morse code. But the most unforgettable moment of his service came on September 2, 1945. From the USS Proteus, anchored just a mile away, Curtis saw Japan's formal surrender aboard the USS Missouri. This historic event marked the war's end and left an indelible impression on the young sailor. After the war, Curtis returned to civilian life and, thanks to the GI Bill, pursued his passion for acting. He studied at the New School in Greenwich Village and trained alongside future stars like Harry Belafonte and Walter Matthau. Discovered by talent agent Joyce Selznick, Curtis soon moved to Hollywood. There, his charm and talent captivated audiences worldwide. His time in the Navy shaped his resilience and work ethic, which shone through in his performances. From signal flags to film scripts, he carried his sense of duty and discipline into every role. Few actors can claim to have been both a witness to history and a Hollywood legend, but Tony Curtis was one of a kind. Mickey Rooney. Who needs a stage when the battlefield calls for an encore? Before Mickey Rooney became one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, he swapped sound stages for combat zones during World War II. Drafted into the U.S. Army in 1944, Rooney spent nearly 2 years performing for troops. He brought much-needed laughter and hope to those on the front lines. After serving primarily in Europe, he joined the Special Services. There he performed in jeep shows, mobile stage productions held in combat zones. He didn't just stick to live shows. His voice reached soldiers across the airwaves as a radio personality on the American Forces Network. Altogether, Rooney entertained over 2 million troops. He quickly became a morale-boosting superstar for soldiers far from home. His dedication to service didn't go unnoticed. Rooney was awarded the Bronze Star for performing in dangerous war zones. This medal was a testament to his bravery and commitment to supporting the troops. He also earned other honors, including the Army Good Conduct Medal and the European African Middle Eastern Campaign Medal. When the war ended in 1945, Rooney returned to Hollywood, but his career faced new challenges. At 5 feet 2 inches, he struggled to find roles as he aged out of the juvenile parts that had made him a star. Still, his wartime service left an enduring mark, showcasing his resilience and heart, both on and off the screen. From Andy Hardy to Army hero, Mickey Rooney proved that true stars shine brightest when lifting others up, even in the darkest times. Glenn Ford. Did you know Glenn Ford didn't just star in war films? He lived the military life too. This Hollywood heartthrob balanced a rising acting career with a deep commitment to serving his country. And he did that during 2 major conflicts. In 1942, with World War II raging, Ford enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. Even as he filmed war dramas like Destroyer, Ford didn't hesitate to step away from Hollywood's spotlight. Turning down the chance to become an officer, he entered boot camp as a private, proving his humility and dedication. At the San Diego base, Ford excelled in training, earning the Rifle Marksman Badge and being named Honor Man of his platoon. By the time he completed training, he had risen to the rank of sergeant. While Ford's dream of seeing combat wasn't realized, he contributed to the war effort in creative ways. He played a Marine raider, uncredited in Guadalcanal Diary, and joined Tyrone Power in broadcasting the Marines' weekly radio show, Halls of Montezuma. As World War II ended, Ford faced health challenges, including duodenal ulcers, which led to a medical discharge in 1944. Despite this setback, he wasn't done serving. Ford later joined the U.S. Naval Reserve, where he continued his military career into the Vietnam War, eventually retiring as a captain. Glenn Ford's story is more than Hollywood glitz. It's one of patriotism and perseverance. From war zones to film sets, Ford showed that true stars shine in every role they take on. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson's journey from coal miner to decorated war hero to screen legend is proof that real-life heroes can become Hollywood icons. His story is a mix of grit, courage, and determination that sounds straight out of a movie. Born Charles Dennis Bukinski in 1921, Bronson grew up in extreme poverty in the coal mining region of Pennsylvania. As a teenager, he joined his father and brothers in the mines to support his family. But when World War II broke out, Bronson sought a different path and enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1943. As part of the 61st Bombardment Squadron, Bronson served as an aerial gunner aboard Boeing B-29 Superfortresses. He flew 25 dangerous missions over Japan. On one of these missions, his plane was hit by enemy fire, and Bronson was wounded by shrapnel. His bravery earned him a Purple Heart, but the horrors of war left lasting scars. After returning home, Bronson struggled to find his footing. Acting became his escape and a way to channel the emotions he carried from the battlefield. Starting with a job painting scenery for a Philadelphia theater troupe, he worked his way up to small acting roles. Eventually, he built a career as one of Hollywood's most iconic stars. Whether battling on-screen villains or enemies in the sky, Bronson brought authenticity and resilience to every role. This was all shaped by his remarkable life experiences. Ernest Borgnine. Who knew the man behind McHale's Navy was a decorated sailor who lived the life he later brought to the screen? That's right. Before Ernest Borgnine became an Oscar-winning actor and a Hollywood legend, he spent nearly a decade in the United States Navy, serving with pride and grit. Borgnine joined the Navy in 1935, right after high school, looking for adventure and a way to support his family. He served aboard the destroyer USS Lamberton and was honorably discharged in 1941. But his service wasn't over yet. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Borgnine re-enlisted in January 1942 to serve during World War II. This time, he patrolled the Atlantic coast on the USS Sylph, a patrol yacht used for anti-submarine missions. By the time he was honorably discharged again in 1945, he had earned several awards. These included the Navy Good Conduct Medal and the World War II Victory Medal. Borgnine credited the Navy with teaching him discipline and purpose, lessons he carried into his acting career. His connection to his naval roots didn't end after his service. In 1997, he received the Lone Sailor Award, and in 2004, he was given the honorary title of Chief Petty Officer for his dedication to supporting naval personnel and their families. Borgnine's military experience even influenced his iconic roles, including his portrayal of naval characters in McHale's Navy. From patrolling the seas to commanding the screen, Ernest Borgnine's journey was nothing short of remarkable. Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin didn't just act tough on screen, he earned that toughness on the battlefields of World War II. Marvin enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps in 1942 at just 18 years old. As a scout sniper in the 4th Marine Division, he faced the brutal realities of the Pacific Theater during World War II. Marvin was involved in multiple amphibious assaults, including those at Kwajalein, Eniwetok, and Saipan. During the Battle of Saipan, he was gravely wounded while assaulting Mount Tapachau. Machine gun fire severed his sciatic nerve, and a sniper's bullet injured his foot. These injuries led to a lengthy recovery and a medical discharge in 1945. Despite being demoted from corporal to private first class for troublemaking, Marvin's bravery earned him several prestigious military decorations. After his service, Marvin returned to civilian life, working as a plumber's assistant in Woodstock, New York. Fate intervened when he was asked to fill in for an actor during a local theater rehearsal. The experience ignited his passion for acting, leading him to study at the American Theater Wing on the GI Bill. Marvin's military discipline and real-life combat experiences clearly played a part in his powerful on-screen presence. From surviving the chaos of war to conquering Hollywood, Lee Marvin's life is a testament to resilience, bravery, and seizing unexpected opportunities. Don Knotts. What do ventriloquism, comedy, and the U.S. Army have in common? Don Knotts, the man who blended them all. From 1943 to 1946, he was part of the 6,817th Special Services Battalion, using his talent for comedy to entertain troops in the Pacific. Knotts performed in a GI variety show called Stars and Gripes, bringing humor and relief to soldiers during challenging times. His military service earned him several honors. These included the World War II Victory Medal, the Philippine Liberation Medal, and the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 4 Bronze Service Stars. His performances weren't just funny, they were a vital morale boost for his fellow servicemen. After his discharge, Knotts didn't leave showbiz behind. Using connections from his Army days, he broke into entertainment. He started with stand-up comedy in clubs and a memorable radio role as the quick-witted Windy Wales on Bobby Benson and the B-Bar-B Riders. Knotts' journey from entertaining troops to starring on The Andy Griffith Show shows how his comedic gifts made an impact both on and off the battlefield. Whether performing for soldiers or TV audiences, Knotts always knew how to deliver a laugh when it was needed most. Jimmy Stewart. James Stewart was already a big name in Hollywood, known for roles in classics like It's a Wonderful Life and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. But before he became a movie star, he was also the first major Hollywood actor to enlist in the U.S. military during World War II. Coming from a family with a strong military background, it wasn't a surprise that Stewart felt the call to serve. In 1941, he joined the Army Air Corps, despite being initially rejected for being underweight. Determined, Stewart bulked up and was accepted, soon becoming a flight instructor. But Stewart wanted more than just a desk job. He appealed to his superiors to be sent into active combat. So in 1943, he was deployed to England, where he became the commanding officer of the 703rd Bomb Squadron. Throughout the war, he flew 20 dangerous missions over Nazi-occupied Europe in a B-24 Liberator bomber. For his bravery, Stewart was awarded 2 Distinguished Flying Cross medals and the French Croix de Guerre. After the war, Stewart didn't just return to Hollywood, he remained in the Air Force Reserve, eventually rising to the rank of Brigadier General. His service continued, and he even deployed to Vietnam. Stewart's legacy is not only built on his iconic acting career, but also on his leadership and courage as a military officer. Truly, he was a hero both on and off the screen. James Arness. James Arness wasn't always the tough, calm figure we knew as Marshal Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke. In fact, his journey to fame took several twists and turns. Although he was known for being a poor student and skipping classes, Arness graduated from high school in June 1942. He then attended Beloit College, where he joined the campus choir in a fraternity. But it wasn't long before his life took a different direction. In 1943, Arness was drafted into the U.S. Army during World War II. Although he wanted to become a naval fighter pilot, his height, 6 feet 7 inches, kept him from that dream. Instead, he became a rifleman in the Army and was sent to fight in Italy. During the Battle of Anzio in January 1944, Arness was severely wounded in his right leg. Despite the injury, he received several military honors, including the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. After recovering from his injuries, Arness was honorably discharged and began a new chapter in his life. He started working as a radio announcer before moving on to Hollywood. It wasn't long before he became famous for playing Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke, a role that made him a household name. Throughout his career, Arness carried the physical and emotional scars from his service, but they didn't stop him from becoming one of TV's most beloved stars. Paul Newman. Before playing iconic roles, Paul Newman fought in World War II, where a twist of fate saved his life. After graduating high school in 1943, Newman enlisted in the Navy and hoped to become a pilot. But a colorblindness test dashed his dreams of flying. So instead, he served as a radio operator and turret gunner on aircraft carriers. Stationed in the Pacific Theater, Newman was aboard the USS Bunker Hill, where he faced danger head-on. In an incredible twist of fate, just before his unit was set to join the battle at Okinawa, Newman's pilot developed an ear infection. This caused them to miss the mission. This unexpected event spared them from disaster. On May 11, 1945, the USS Bunker Hill was struck by 2 kamikaze planes, causing devastating damage and the loss of 393 sailors. If Newman and his pilot had been aboard, they likely would have been among the casualties. After being honorably discharged in 1946, Newman received several medals for his service. These included the American Area Campaign Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal. This life-changing experience gave Newman a deep appreciation for life. That appreciation greatly influenced his career and philanthropic efforts later on. From Navy service to Hollywood stardom, Newman's story reminds us how every chapter of life can shape who we become. Tyrone Power. Tyrone Power didn't just conquer hearts in Hollywood. He took to the skies as a Marine Corps pilot during World War II. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Power felt a call to serve his country. In 1942, at the height of his fame, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, leaving behind the glamour of Hollywood for the challenges of military life. Power trained as a pilot, earning his wings and being promoted to first lieutenant. Although he was considered too old for combat flying, Power volunteered to pilot cargo planes. He flew crucial missions during the battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa. As part of Marine Transport Squadron 353, he helped transport supplies and evacuate wounded Marines from the front lines. His brave service earned him the American Campaign Medal. the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 2 Bronze Stars, and the World War II Victory Medal. After the war, Power returned to Hollywood, but his commitment to service didn't end. He remained in the reserves, eventually rising to the rank of Major. Tyrone Power's journey from leading man to Marine Corps aviator is a reminder that the greatest heroes often emerge in the most unexpected places. Bonus: B. Arthur. We talked about the men, but they weren't the only ones serving their country. Long before B. Arthur became a household name in sitcoms like All in the Family, Maude, and The Golden Girls, she served her country during World War II. In 1943, just 2 months before turning 21, Arthur enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps Women's Reserve. She wasn't just a star on screen, she was a hero off-screen too. During her time in the military, Arthur took on important roles. These included working as a typist at Marine Corps headquarters in Washington. She didn't stop there, though. She also drove trucks and worked as a dispatcher at military bases in North Carolina, like Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point. By the end of her service in 1945, Arthur had earned the rank of Staff Sergeant and was honorably discharged. Her time in the military was just one chapter in a life full of accomplishments. After all, she did win a few Emmy Awards and brought her signature humor to the screen for decades. So, the next time you watch B. Arthur's hilarious moments on The Golden Girls, remember that this comedy legend had the heart of a true American hero long before she became our favorite sarcastic best friend. Bonus: Eddie Albert. Born in 1906, Eddie Albert, originally named Edward Albert Heberger, was an accomplished actor before he ever stepped foot in the world of Hollywood comedy. However, in 1942, his life took a dramatic turn when he enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Albert's most heroic moment came during the Battle of Tarawa in November 1943. Serving as a lieutenant, he piloted a landing craft under heavy enemy fire to rescue wounded Marines stranded on a reef. Despite the intense danger, Albert made multiple trips to save lives, demonstrating incredible bravery. His actions earned him the prestigious Bronze Star with a Combat V for valor. When reflecting on his bravery, Albert humbly said, "I was just doing my job." But to those whose lives he saved, he was undoubtedly a hero. After the war, Albert returned to Hollywood, where his military experience added depth to his roles, particularly in portraying characters with grit and determination. His legacy as both an actor and a hero lives on, reminding us that true courage comes in many forms, whether on the battlefield or on the screen. So next time you watch Green Acres, remember that Eddie Albert's most impressive role wasn't on a TV set, it was saving lives in the heat of battle. These stars weren't just screen legends, they showed remarkable bravery and dedication in real life. From flying planes to rescuing soldiers, they risked everything to serve their country. It's incredible how they balanced their Hollywood careers with such sacrifices, proving that true heroes come in all forms, sometimes wearing uniforms instead of movie star gowns. Next time you watch a classic film, remember these actors were more than just stars. They were real heroes who gave so much for others. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more fascinating stories, and leave a comment telling us which actor's service surprised you most. Thanks for watching.